Alright, everything's live right now. Oh, I hear someone else coming. We'll wait for
I
them.
locked the door.
Okay.
We really need to change that phone.
I didn't know we had a doorbell.
We can have it as a pre-recording of L'chaim or Shalom or something.
Right.
David and Liz.
Hmm?
David and Liz.
Yeah. Oh, hi.
Aye,
How you doing?
Because he was home, but he's like,
Alright, we're going to start our service. We're going to begin on page 6 of our Siddurim. Page 6, can you hear me? We turned down the volume a little bit on the mics, but I'll turn it up a little bit.
no,
You can hear me? Okay. Okay.
Could you talk a little louder?
Yeah, I can talk a little bit louder, or I can just get closer to the mic system.
It's fine.
David can wear hearing aids.
Yes.
Alright, we're going to start on page 6 of our Sidurims with Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Malechei Hasharei, Malechei El Elyon. Mi Melech, Malechei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boechem Shalom, Malechei HaShalom, Malechei El Elyon. Mi Melech, Malechei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Barchuni L'Shalom, Malechei HaShalom, Malechei El Elyon. Mi Melech, Malechei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Seitchem L'Shalom, Malechei HaShalom, Malechei El Elyon. Mi Melech, Malechei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I'd like to invite up Shoshana. Would you like to light our Shabbos candles for today? Heidi? Okay. All right.
See how cool. Oh, are we using this now? We're not
It's a
using matches?
flamethrower. Yes, we have a flamethrower now.
Oh, look at that. It is. Is it light? Nope. There we go.
Nice.
Come, let us welcome Shabbat.
May its radiance illuminate our hearts.
Light is the symbol of the divine.
The eternal is my light and my salvation.
Light is the symbol of the divine within us.
The human spirit is the light of the eternal.
Light is the symbol of the divine law.
For the mitzvah is a lamp and the Torah a light.
Light is the symbol of Israel's mission.
I, the eternal, have made you a covenant people, a light to the nations.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kedeshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahad l'kner shal Shabbat.
Amen.
Blessed are you, O eternal our God, who makes our lives holy through divine mitzvot and has commanded us to kindle the Shabbat lamp.
Amen.
May the eternal bless us with Shabbat joy.
Amen.
May the eternal bless us with Shabbat peace.
Amen.
May the eternal bless us with Shabbat happiness.
Amen. Amen. Shkoyach. Thank you. We're going to continue on page 9 of our Sidurims with L'chadodi. L'chadodi ligraka la yadada 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela. L'chadodi ligraka la yadada 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor b'zachor b'dibor echad. Hishmianu el chanuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, l'shem multiferet b'litihila, lechai doidi ligraka la yadada 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela, lechai doidi ligraka la yadada 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha ki hi mekor habracha merosh mekedem nesuka Sof Ma'aseh V'Machsha Tehila Ahalech Haydoi Dili Grakala Yedadai 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 P'nei Shabbat Nekabela Ahalech Haydoi Dili Grakala Yedadai 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 P'nei Shabbat Nekabela Hi Kiva Orech Kumi Uri, Shir Daveri, Kavod Adonai, Alai Negila, Ale, Chaydoi Zili, Grakala, Yedadai, P'nei Shabbat, Nekabela, Ale, Chaydoi Zili, Grakala, Yedadai, P'nei Shabbat, Nekabela. Now we face the entrance to the exit of our building as we welcome in the Shabbos bride. Boi v'shalom atzeret bala gam b'simcha u'b'tzolach toch emune am sivula boi kala ale chaydoi dili grakala yedadai p'nei Shabbat nekabela ale chaydoi dili grakala yedadai p'nei Shabbat Nekabela. We remain standing for the Hatzi Kaddish on page 11. Yitkadal v'yitkada Shamei Rabba Be'amadi brach yirutei b'yamich malchutei B'chayechon u'v'yoymechon u'chayedecho Beit Yisrael Ba'agala u'bizman karib B'yameru Amen Yehei Shmei Rabba Mevorach Le'olam Yolom Me'almaya Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitpa'ar V'yitramah V'yitnaseh V'yitradar V'yitaleh V'yitalal Shemei Kudusha B'rehu Le'ela Min Kol Birchata V'shirata Tushbechata V'nechemata Damiran Bi'alma V'yemeru Amen. We now turn to page 12. Baruchu et Adonai HaMevorach Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed. On page 13 we join together in the English reading. Eternal God, your majesty is proclaimed by the marvels of earth and sky. Sun, moon, and stars testify to your power and wisdom. Day follows day in endless succession, and the years vanish, but your sovereignty endures. Though all things pass, let not your glory depart from us. Help us to become co-workers with you and endow our fleeting days with abiding worth. Baruch atah Adonai Hama'ariv Aravim. Blessed are you, O Eternal, who brings on the evening. We now turn to page 14 for the Shema prayer. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. You may be seated. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך וחיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך ושינתן לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ולתך בדרך ושכבך ובקומך וקשרתם נאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם אדוני אלוהיכם emet. We turn to page 17 for the responsive reading. Eternal truth is that you are alone our God, and there is none else.
May the righteous of all nations rejoice in your love and exult in your justice.
Let them beat their swords into plowshares.
Let them beat their spears into pruning hooks.
Let nation not lift up sword against nation. Let them study war no more.
You shall not hate another in your heart. You shall love your neighbor as yourself.
Let the stranger be in your midst, to you as the native, for you were once strangers in the land of Egypt.
In the house of bondage you went forth to freedom, so let all be free to sing with joy.
Turn to page 18 for Mi Chamocha. Mi Chamocha Balim Adonai, Mi Chamocha Nezar BaKodesh, Nora Tehilot Osei Feleh, Machutecha Ra'u Banecha Bokeyam Lifnei Moshe, Ze Eli Anu V'Amru, Adonai Iloch Leolam Va'ed, B'ne'emar ki fada Adonai et Yaakov u'golom yad hazach mimenu baruch ata Adonai Ga'al Yisrael. Page 19. Cause us, O eternal our God, to lie down in peace, and to awaken us each morning to life renewed with strength. Spread over us the holy shelter of your peace.
Help us to water our lives by your counsel, and lead us in the paths of righteousness. Be a shield about us, protecting us from hate and war, from pestilence and sorrow.
Curb also within us the inclination to do evil, and shelter us beneath the shadow of your wings. Guard our going out and our coming into life, with peace from this time forth forever.
Blessed are you, O Eternal, whose heavenly shelter of peace spread over us, over all God's people Israel, and over Jerusalem.
Page 20 will join together for Vishamru. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat La'asod et ha-Shabbat Leder et ha-Berit olam Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat La'asod et ha-Shabbat Leder et ha-Berit olam B'nei ben b'nei Yisrael, oti le'olam, oti le'olam, oti le'olam. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asod et ha-Shabbat, leder et ha-berit olam. Ki shech yamim asa Adonai et ha-shamayim v'et ha'aretz v'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asod et ha-Shabbat leder et ha-berit olam uvayom hashvi'i Shabbat vayinafash Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, v'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asod et ha-Shabbat, leder et ha-berit olam. We now rise for the Amidah prayer of Tefillah on page 21. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagita hilatecha Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu v'imoteinu Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanorah El Elyon Gomel Hasadim Todim V'Konei HaKol V'Zocher Chazdei Avot V'Imachot U'Mevi Geula Lifnei B'neichem Leman Shemo B'Ahava Melech Ozer Mashiach Magin Baruch atah Adonai Magin Abraham V'Ezrat Sarah Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai Mechayei HaKol Atah Rab Le'Hoshia Mashiva Ruach Umarit Hagashem Mechakel Hayim Bechesed Mechayei HaKol Berachamim Rabim Soimech Noflim Berofei Cholim ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומידו מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל אתה קדוש ושם הקדוש וקדושים בכל יום הללויה סלע ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. We daven silently and afterwards we'll join together for Oseh Shalom on page 29. We'll join together now for Oseh Shalom on page 29. Oseh Shalom Nimromav, Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, V'imru Amen. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael. V'yemeru, Amen. Does anyone know what parsha we're in right now? Go ahead.
Toldo.
Toldos, yes, Parshas Toldos, or Toldot, depending on the pronunciation, Ashkenazi or Sephardic, Toldot or Toldos.
We took Parsha playing back at
Yes.
In my class.
So last week we read Parshas Chaya Sarah, and we read and learned about the life and death of Sarah in last week's Torah portion. Following the death of Sarah, Abraham searches for a wife for his son Isaac. He entrusts Eliezer, the first shadchan described in our tradition, to find a wife for Isaac. And that wife he found was Rebekah. After some time, Rebekah finds herself pregnant, which is where we pick up in this week's Torah portion. This week we pick up in Parshas Toldos. In our Torah reading, we read that Isaac and Rebekah, they endure some 20-some-odd years of childlessness until Rebekah finally conceives. And this pregnancy was difficult, and the children struggle inside of Rebekah's womb. During this time, God tells Rebekah that there are 2 nations in her womb. God also tells Rebekah that the younger will prevail over the older. Esau is firstborn, and then Jacob. Esau develops into a hunter and a grunt. Jacob develops into a wholesome man of learning. Isaac and Rebekah favor Esau over his brother. Returning one day exhausted from hunting, Esau sells his birthright for a pot of lentil soup to his brother. The parsha of this week then goes on to describe while in Gerar, Isaac presents Rebekah as his sister out of fear that he may be killed by someone coveting her beauty. In Gerar, Isaac grows old and blind. Isaac expresses the desire to bless Esau before he dies. While Esau goes off to hunt for his father, Rebekah dresses Jacob in Esau's clothing and sends him to see his father. Jacob then receives his father's blessing for the dew of the heaven and the fat of the land and mastery over his brother. When Esau returns and sees the deception and is revealed, all Isaac can say is that Esau will live by the sword but forever be diminutive to his brother. Jacob then leaves to flee Esau's wrath. Nevertheless, let us parcel 3 points of this week's Torah portion. The repeated themes of idealized relationship, modern medical perspectives, and as well the concept of people matter all seem central in this week's Torah portion in particular. Some of the themes overlap from last week's Torah portion into this week's Torah portion. Love, matches, and progeny appear to be important in this week's Torah portion. Recall in this week's Torah portion that Isaac abandons Rebekah while in Gerar. In Gerar, Isaac presents Rebekah as his sister because he fears someone will covet her beauty and kill him. In addition, recall from last week's Torah portion how I commented that Parshas Chaya Sarah is reminiscent of the idealized form of a relationship. Abraham and Sarah, though, were not without their complexities. In Genesis 12, Abraham abandons Sarah in Egypt. Although we like to remember them as the romantic perfection of fidelity of an ideal, it was far from the truth of reality. Abraham's son Isaac was the progeny of his father. Isaac made the same missteps as his father did while in Egypt. In Gerar, Isaac also abandons his wife for the same reasons, for fear. Nevertheless, we still remember Isaac and Rebekah in the same light as Abraham and Sarah. Their relationship was problematic, but remembering them as an idealized light is always more useful for us as readers. Departing, though, from these themes of this week's Torah portion of our Torah reading is a modern medical phenomenon that seems to best describe the birth of Isaac's son, Jacob, and Esau. As we know, the story of Esau and Jacob is of 2 epic brothers quarreling with one another. Jacob is deemed to inherit the birthright of the Jewish people, but Esau is condemned by rabbinic commentaries to be the progenitor of Sarah, the forerunner of Rome. The story of sibling rivalry is a common theme that appears and reappears in our Torah. Rather, it is uncommon for 2 siblings to not be marked by deep rivalry with one another. However, I'd like to focus our attention on something, that medical phenomenon that I was describing earlier, that I cannot help but to think of when reading this week's Torah portion. As many of you may know, I served as a medic in Israel for 2 years before working as an EMT outside of Philadelphia for a few years, and this background gave me a wealth of medical knowledge. And I cannot help but to avoid thinking about a syndrome described to me by a doctor before entering into rabbinical seminary. It's known as twin-twin transfusion syndrome, or TTTS. It is an imbalance of blood flow between 2 identical twins who share a single placenta but have separate amniotic sacs. The syndrome has considerable implications for twins and their development. Classically, one baby is born larger and with a red hue upon birth, but the other is born much smaller and pale. The red child is typically born first and struggles with developmental stages in life. Esau is described as red as it is described in this week's Torah portion, and his developmental stages appear to be flawed in a number of examples. His decision to sell out his birthright for his brother for a cup of soup is characteristic of someone who truly is challenged with some developmental problems. Whether or not we choose to believe the stories and the characters of our Tanakh are allegorical or actual people, the decision to describe the brothers in such detail offers us insight into how TTTS may have been understood by our ancestors. I'd like to part from one final discernment of this week's Torah portion. For many Torah readings now, I've cited this epic saga that was going on between the last two Jews of Afghanistan. And as you may recall, the last two Jews of Afghanistan, they battled over the last prayer place, a final synagogue in Kabul, and actually went to jail with one another, only to be broken out by jail when the guards could no longer take the two quarreling day and night. After one died, the other remarked that he had little to complain of about the Taliban, but had plenty to complain about his former Jewish enemy. A few months ago, though, we learned that there was another Jewish woman in Afghanistan who just recently fled, but she was also dragged into the two between them when they were quarreling. You see, this brings us to today's Torah portion of Esau and his brother. So too would their descendants. They would quarrel, and it seems to be infused with our heritage in our blood. Would it surprise you to hear that quarreling is the very nature of the Jewish people? Rather, the investment, though, of one person quarreling with another affirms the meaning and purpose in the other. They're worth your time. They're worth our time. Missed frequently in the loop of disagreements is the underlying motion that both people matter. This message leads us through this month, and may the story of the struggles of Jacob and Esau guide us through the challenging times ahead with our brethren. Can you hear us soon? May it be God's will. Amen. So in just a moment, we'll be reciting the Mishaberach prayer. The Mishaberach prayer may be found in the back of our Siddurim. The very back of our Siddurim is the Mishaberach prayer. I'll be reciting names that have been provided to me from our Mishaberach list. After the names have been read aloud, I'd like to ask if anyone would like to add any names to the list that has been read. For the Mishaberach list of this evening, we have the following names: Evan Mitchell Wadika, Tzvia Bat Margalit, Elise Souza, Suzanne Wadika, Ruth Dowse, Jerry Dowse, Vicky Hyatt, Bill Natras, Bruce, well, we're not going to include Miriam Mendel Ben Shira, Nachman Ben Malka, Shlomo Leib Ben Malka, Alan Lewis, Ellen Yogelson, Jerry Yogelson, Russ Paneri, Jeffrey Stein, Jeffrey Koffler, Evan Evers, Claudia Schachter, Courtney Zabadek, Linda Bloom, Elaine Blitz, Linda Wilson, Rhoda Jacobs, Becky Bono, Linda Gotev, Sylvia Stern, Myra Levis, Evie Schneider, Dr. Sharon Anita Wander, Sonia Richmond, Susan Skverek. Are there any additional names anyone would like to have added to our Mishaberach list?
Stephen and Beverly Lasser,
Stephen and Beverly Lasser,
Michael Berkovitz,
Michael Berkovitz,
Yvette Zamos.
Yvette Zamos. Yes.
Nancy Sursasimo.
Nancy Sursasimo,
Steve and Carol Lichtenstein,
Steve and Carol Lichtenstein,
Bill Fisher.
Bill Fisher. Thank you. Are there any additional names anyone would like to add to our Mishaberach list? No? Okay. We'll be opening up the Ark and then reciting the words of the Mishaberach prayer found at the very back of our Siddurim. Mishaberach Avotenu Mekor HaBrecha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishaberach Imotenu Mekor HaBrecha Le'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing, with refuah shalema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. We'll remain standing for the Aleinu prayer. The Aleinu prayer may be found on page 30 of our Sidurims. The Aleinu prayer may be found on page 30 of our Sidurims. Aleinu l'shabeach laidon hakol la'teit gidula liyotzeh b'reishit shelo atzane k'ge'aratzot velo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama shelo sam chalkeinu kachem v'gor aleinu k'chol hamonam v'anachnu purim u'mishtachavim u'imodim Lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu shahunot hashamayim beyosed aretz umoshev yekaro bashamayim mima'al ushchinatu zo begovei miroimim hu Eloheinu ein od emet malkeinu efazulato Kakatu v'torato v'yadata hayom v'hoshevota elav becha ki Adonai hu Elohim b'shamayim mimal v'yal ha'aretz mitzachad ein od. We continue now on page 31 together. We therefore hope in you, O eternal our God, soon to behold the splendor of your might. Then will false gods vanish from the earth, and the idols will be utterly cut off, to heal the world through the sovereignty of the Almighty. Then will all acclaim you as their God, and forsaking evil, turn to you alone. Let all who dwell on earth acknowledge that unto you every knee must bend, and every tongue swear loyalty. Before you, O eternal our God, let us humble themselves. To your glorious name, let them give honor. Let all accept the yoke of your dominion, that you may rule over them soon and forever. For the dominion is yours, and you will rule in glory, as it is written, the eternal will reign forever and ever. V'ne'emar b'haya Adonai lemelech al kol ha'aretz Bayom hahu yihyeh Adonai echad U'shemo echad. I'd like to invite up, is it going to be Marilyn today for our announcements?
Would you like to?
I never know.
Last week when you were here.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Saturday, November 26th, Torah study and worship, virtual and in-person. Torah study at 9:30 and worship at 10:15 a.m. Havdalah and game nights will start on December 3rd at 6:30 p.m. After Havdalah, we will have a nosh, which will be a potluck dairy farm meal, and then a game. Friday, December 23rd, service at 6:30, sing along with Avi. Optional dinner to follow. More information on weekly email, RSVP by December 18th. Register for dinner, no need to register to attend service. Sisterhood Hanukkah Party, Tuesday, December 20th, 6:30. Potluck, dairy dinner. White Elephant Gift Exchange. What's that?
Everyone brings a gift at the same price.
And you-
I'll explain it to you.
I think a white elephant.
For more
White
information,
elephant coming.
RSVP I've emailed to Sisterhood. Next blood drive, Sunday, February 12th. Make appointment via weekly email. Help needed to dig hole to bury damaged and old prayer books. If you can help, please reply to weekly email and let Rick Estrin know. Student Shabbat, December 10th. Thank you.
So why is it called white elephant? Did someone have a reason?
I don't know, that's what they call
Okay.
it. It's basically a game where
Yeah.
Everybody who's there brings a gift of about the same value, and it's wrapped, so you don't know what's in there.
Yeah.
You put them in the middle of the table, and everybody gets a number, and the first person picks it,
Yeah.
and the next person can either
Steal.
open it on that,
Right.
open, or
Just
steal
take
another
that
one,
one, right.
steal
Gotcha.
an open gift, and it's actually.
Gotcha.
I actually learned that when I learned it as a secret Satan, is what they call
Oh.
that.
Gotcha.
White,
Secret Satan.
white elephant
Secret
sounds
Santa
better.
when you're
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Santa, but yeah, Secret Satan, I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd stay with white
Well,
elephant, but.
I like the Satan because when we did play this once, and people were having arguments over the gift cards.
Oh, really? Nice.
Alright. Well,
Anyway,
the mystery lives on. We'll figure it out one day why it's called that.
Well,
Sorry.
We'll now turn to the Mourner's Cottage on page 33. I'll be reciting names from our community who have recently passed, as well as members of our community who are observing a Yahrzeit for. After the names have been read aloud, I'd like to ask anyone of our community to please share with us any names of anyone they're observing a Yahrzeit for or in the period of Shloshim Av. Recently passed from our community are the following names: Ruth Lowenthal, Joyce Coben, Robert Pfeiffer, Benjamin Cohen, Judith Ellen Schuler, Philip Balstein, Stanley Toad, Steve Goldblum, Jacob George Tobel, Hito Lizama, Stan Perlman, David Schneider, Raphael Marcus, Florence Schneider, Sylvia Tannenbaum, Florence Gottmacher, Bruce Fleshig.
Yeah, he said.
He is.
This is ready, yeah, it's ready.
Our Yahrzeit for today include the following names: Charles Schulman, Aaron Shapiro, Anita Kahn, Hilda Kipperman, Helen Martinez, Barbara Silverman, Sidney Sinkoff, Anna Cohen, George Davidoff, Sophie Nemias, Bert Farber, Seth Schneider, Louis Fisher, William Offenberg, Juliet Rabinowitz, Louis Cohen, Wilfred Martinez, Milton Rothberg, Abe Kogan, Ethel Tucker. Are there any other names anyone is observing a Yahrzeit for in the period of Shloshim Av?
Howie Glick,
Howie Glick,
Sure. Amanda Newman,
Amanda Newman,
Ben Rodriguez,
Ben Rodriguez,
Fred Kellogg,
Fred Kellogg,
Judy Merman,
Judy Merman,
McDonald Smith,
McDonald Smith,
Larry Burshot.
Larry Bershaw. Are there any additional names anyone is observing a Yahrzeit for in the period of Shloshim Av? Okay. If it is your custom, please rise. The Mourner's Cottage is on page 33. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabah v'alma tigrat hirutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayedecho beit Yisrael v'aygalal v'zman karib v'imru amen Yahei shmei rabah mevarach le'olam olamei almaya Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitramah v'yitnasei v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei v'kudashah v'reichu La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata da'minran v'alma v'imru amen Yehi shlama rabba min shamayim v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen Oseh shalom b'imramav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the source of peace and peace to all who mourn and comfort all who are bereaved, and let us say
Amen.
You may be seated. We're going to conclude our service with Adon Olam on page 34. Adon Olam is on page 34. Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra li'et nasa b'chefzo kol azai melech shemo nigra v'yachadrei kitlo takol Levado im loich nora, vehu haya, vehu chode, vehu yeh betif ara, vehu echad v'yein sheni, lechamshi lo lehachvira, v'li reshi v'li tachlit, v'lo ha'oz v'hamizra, vehu eli, v'chaya goali, v'tzorchev li v'yitzara, v'hu nisi umanos li, menat chosi v'yom ekra, v'ya'ado afkid ruchi, V'yetz ishani a'ira, v'im ruchi gevi'ati, Adonai li velo ira. Good Shabbos, everyone. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom. Stephen, would you like to lead us in the Kiddush? Any volunteers to lead us in Chamotzi? And volunteers for Chamotzi? Right? Alright,
Nice.
alright, we'll join together.